Hello and welcome to whoever and whenever you're listening to this conversation. This is the Seeds of Synergy podcast, and my name is Patrick. It is a privilege to be sharing this time with you. In this conversation, I'll be joined with Ombeline and Frederic as we discuss the Apu Lin University of Ancestral Knowledge and Wisdom. Frederic has got the luxury of living firsthand with the Quechua community in Peru. The Quechua people are the traditional custodians of the Andes, and from this experience he's drawn a lot of valuable knowledge and insight into their connection with the land, their connections to themselves, as well as their connection within their community. This conversation is an introduction to the university, and more particularly my association with it being its initial student. From this conversation, you'll learn a little bit more about me, my background and aspirational goals as a child, as well as the vision, the who, the what, and the why for this podcast going forward. I briefly touch on escapism mechanisms, particularly addictions, in my own journey, and how historically they have fueled insecurities and fears. Please note that this experience and this journey is ongoing. I haven't overcome completely these escapism mechanisms. I hope that this has some value for your own journey. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy.
And Patrick, the point of this meeting is to welcome you, something that is new, this University of Ancestral Wisdom and Traditional Knowledge. Just to remind a little bit this history about this university. I was walking, up Viacha in the mountains the day of the anniversary of my mother, and I wanted to have a special day, in nature, in connection with nature. So I was walking, and at one point, this vision of this inspiration of a university that value ancestral wisdom and traditional knowledge appear. And I felt that it was aligned, and necessary as well, So, and then I meet you in Viacha as well, in the mountains. And we have some conversation, and then we keep in touch. We did this podcast with Anna and Guillermo about synergy.
It's amazing how it's all worked out.
See, for you, how was the progression of the desire, to join the project?
I think meeting yourself as well as a few other travelers and having the opportunity to visit the Quechua village in Viacha was an absolute privilege to see how this community lived and their connection and tribal unity, as well as their connection to the land, was something that was quite foreign to me. I hadn't seen something like that firsthand. I've heard stories about tribal communities and their connections themselves and to nature, but to actually be there and physically walk and visit the cave as well and see some of the drawings that had been there for thousands of years was something that really resonated with me. And aligning very much with you and your approach to life, your connection with nature and plant medicines as well was a really big calling, I felt, to be a part of this journey in some capacity and to share the knowledge that you have as well and to learn from yourself and others.
Beautiful, yeah. For me, I see it's a co-creation, It's new, so we will co-create, like together. And you already have experience in high school, university, and you have a lot of also to share, So, Ombeline, do you have some, I don't know, curiosity about?
Well, maybe I can also tell you a little bit of my background. I read a little bit of your questions that Frederic asked you. So I have a PhD in plant medicine, in chemistry. So I studied chemistry and I specialized research for active compounds for pharmaceutical usage of plants. And then after that, I worked as a manager of a team of 5 people in a company that also made plant medicines for a pharmaceutical company. Then I also did the big leap into the unknown and stopped my job and went on to more self-development path. And that led me to come here to Pisac and to meet with Frederic and also be part of starting this Synergy 5D program that we are gonna work on. We're working on. So
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, well, welcome. Thank you for being here.
So, how we start? I'd like to start with in your question you sent me. You tell that you have when you was a child a desire to be an actor.
Yes.
How are you about this today?
It's interesting. I think maybe there's probably a reason behind that as to why I've started the podcast, not to pretend to be something else, but I think as a child, I always very much valued the attention of others. And so being able to perform or do a speech or some sort of activity where people were engaging and sort of interested in what I had to say or share, I found a lot of value and benefit from. I think as a kid, you're very impressionable, and growing up in the golden age of movies and television, there was a lot of actors and movies that I really enjoyed, and I thought that would be really cool to live that life or to have that experience. But as a sort of progressing through to older ages, I actually had an experience in acting school, and they gave me a formal sort of skit to rehearse and to prepare. And as a result of that, I did it, but there was a very strict sort of criteria that they were having to mark me on as I did my skit performance. I think it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I was doing a skit as Charlie. And when they gave me my results, I thought I did really well. Again, I thought in my mind that I was Johnny Depp or the next Johnny Depp. And I did very badly in their scorecard of how the performance should be done. And I think that was quite crushing for myself because my parents were always very sort of motivational and said, no, you can do whatever you want. But to have that sort of feedback say, you're not as good as what you think you are, and maybe this is not the right path for you. That was a bit of a, okay, maybe this isn't the right path for me. But what I found through high school and through university as well, leadership opportunities tended to sort of present themselves to me. And I don't think that was because I was able to pretend to be someone else or because I wanted to be an actor. I think that was more so because I started to focus on just putting other people's needs ahead of my own. And as a result of that, people were a lot more inclined to talk to me, to share. And I learned a lot about a broad range of perspectives and people. And so I was able to empathize a lot better. And sort of that journey, I think I've historically tended to focus a lot more on other people's troubles and other people's needs as opposed to my own. And I think that that's a means of distracting myself from focusing within. And so through the travels and talking to other people that are on this sort of self-exploration journey, I've realized that the best way to help people is to come back to myself and sort out my internal world. And as a result, I'll have more capacity to help others around me. So that's how the whole podcast started. And it's why I'm so interested to learn and grow and connect with other people that have walked this path or are walking this path.
I must say I'm very impressed by the self-reflection that you have, the capacity of analyzing yourself. I mean, from the sharpness of the answers from what you wrote, and also this leadership. Like you I identify a lot with you as a servant leadership. I also would qualify myself as such a leader, and as a servant, as you are there for the people and to communicate and organize for them to be able to work. And I could really relate to that answer with you.
I wanted to ask, Ombeline, where did the servant leadership come from in your journey? How did you start to serve others? What was the calling?
I think I was really like you, like just caring for people. And when you care for people, you can only serve as a leader. And it depends on what kind of priorities you have, probably. If you want to have a career very strong and make money, then you don't go into that. You don't care about others. But if you really put others first, then you can only be a servant. And I think that's what our society is leading towards in terms of companies and leadership. The more I see posts on LinkedIn, for example, the more I see a trend to go in that. The manager is not the manager of our parents or my parents, maybe, but more, in taking care of the people around, helping them grow. While maybe 20 years ago, it was more, I am the boss, I know what you need, this kind of differences of culture and generations. About your friends and people around you, how is that the similar kind of culture, or are you kind of special in this regard?
I wouldn't say I'm special. I think I've just had the opportunity to have a lot of time by myself. So something personal that I don't think I've really shared is that I've never been in a relationship. So I've always just had a lot of time with myself and being very focused and driven. I think I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people and learn from them. And the one thing that all the people that I really look up to and want to sort of take and learn from aspects of them has been that they've had this immense amount of time by themselves to reflect, connect with who they are, practice self-love, and really connect with their why. So why are you doing what you're doing? What motivates you to have these visions and to work tirelessly towards them? And so I wouldn't say a lot of my friends, particularly in Australia, are on that journey yet. But what I've found is the more that I've pursued this journey and shared how that's been with my friends, and they can see the transformation that's happened over the last few years, particularly, they're a lot more inclined to have these sort of conversations and look more inwards instead of constantly comparing and competition, and coming into that sort of space of co-creation, like you mentioned, Frederic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very interesting. What would be your expectations for this program?
I've always had very high expectations of myself, and I think that's probably been the biggest hurdle to overcome, and I haven't quite overcome it. But what I'm starting to do now is let go of any sort of expectation, because when I'm very attached to it, I find that when things don't work out as I'm expecting them to, and that's a lot of the time, I tend to get quite upset. So I'm not setting any expectations. The only hope for this sort of collaboration would be to learn more and experience more and connect more. And whatever that might look like, I'm open to that and to share as a result of it.
And what could be that you would love to learn, for example?
So I've been very fortunate with my education to have exposure to different religious practices, how different religions and theologies sort of shape. And then through tertiary education, very fortunate to have studied engineering and to learn a bit more about the logics behind how structures and machines work. From this, I would really love to learn a little bit more about leadership, how to form community, how to strengthen community, stronger connection. I think you mentioned alchemy. So to the body, how different foods and different drinks and different exercises and movement align with my particular physique and my body, as well as the ancestral knowledge, which is, I think, probably the biggest draw card for me, learning how these ancient civilizations and societies operated and worked, because there definitely has to be something that they were doing right for them to have lasted for as long as they did and to still be standing today.
Yes. And about leadership, what could be a definition of a leader first, maybe? It's someone who guides people, who inspires people. What could be your way to say it?
I would say a leader is someone that holds a vision and maintains a very strong idea of either the society that they're wanting to work towards, the person that they're wanting to become, the relationships they're wanting to have. And the leader is someone who holds this vision true, but is also able to inspire and empower others to work towards that vision. Not necessarily his vision, but a co-creating vision where people can add their own insights and their unique perspectives and specific knowledge so that the vision just grows, and eventually more and more people buy into this idea, and by exempling it and serving other people, I believe that's the best way to make that vision become manifest.
Yeah. Inspiring is very important. What I may also add as a key word is motivation. It's very important to keep your team motivated. And this might be the hardest struggle in a team.
Yes, there is this motivation, inspiration.
Exactly.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. You have the inspiration because you align on a goal, but in daily life, you need to keep a motivation. That's the difference.
Okay. What's your view about motivation and inspiration? How you see the word motivation for you?
I think I bring myself back to the experience I had on plant medicines, but also whilst traveling, just unconditional love being the feeling that resonated, being connected to other people, regardless of accents or nationalities or colors of skin. Seeing past those sort of boundaries has been, I think, growing up in South Africa, very multicultural country, so there's constantly a lot of exposure to different races and ethnicities and religions. So I've always been quite open to that, but I do understand that people have had different sort of lived experiences and might have prejudices against different cultures, traditions, or ethnicities. But my vision is one where, irrespective of all of that stuff, we're all humans at the end of the day, and to work collaboratively and in synergy towards restoration of the environment, co-creating with the environment, but also embracing technology. I feel as if we're in an unprecedented time in terms of technological innovation and development. And so instead of being scared about that and evoking fear and unrest in a lot of people because of potential job loss and just general uncertainty of what it's going to look like, embrace the technology and come from a lens of co-creation with technology. So yeah, that's my vision, is one where we're all working in harmony together for the betterment of the environment and using the technology that we are fortunate to have in this day and age. And my motivation for that is talking to other people, particularly Gen Zs and millennials, sort of in that 20 to 30 year bracket. There's a lot of unrest and confusion and concern about what the future is going to look like, the cost of living, housing prices. There's a lot of turmoil, particularly in this generation, and it hasn't been as straightforward as a path as what it might have been for previous generations. My parents, and I imagine most other people in the older generations, were taught from a very young age, if you work hard and you apply yourself diligently, you can live the life that you want to live. And more with the challenges that the world's facing, nuclear threat, climate change, as well as this big technological leap, it seems like a very unprecedented time for our generation going forward. And there's a lot of different things that we need to do to save the world from the brink of collapse. But I do believe that my motivation is not to try and do it all at once. And I have been caught up by that before, but day by day, plant seeds and have conversations with people and inspire and empower them to work towards what their why is, what their vision is. And one person at a time, hopefully that'll have a ripple effect that then allows more and more people to stop being so preoccupied with all of the struggles and the heartaches and the troubles the world's facing, come in alignment with themselves and pursue their why, and that will be enough.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you pointed out the fear, because I think this is indeed a very strong phase in the society where there's a lot of fears that are coming. I've learned that you can go into the path of fear or in the path of love, and you can really choose to where you want to go. And I don't remember who was saying, but you need to move forwards, but make sure that your fear are not the one pushing you. And that is, for me, really important, to always keep focusing on what you want and not on what you don't want.
It's very powerful.
Maybe what I want to add about fear and confusion, that where comes the fear and where comes the confidence? And we talk about it, I remember in Viacha, when we are connected to Earth, to the Earth, Earth bring us confidence, stability, grounding. The confidence coming from the Earth, we cannot experiment fear. It's like, because we have the connection to the Earth, for me, is the key for people in fear, in confusion, to go back to this, stability and some centering. It's why this program, Synergy 5D, that if you want, we will work together, to make it happen also. Start with soul regeneration. Yeah. We can talk more a little bit more later.
If I might rebound on this, I feel like the connection to the ground is really important, to the ground and to where you belong, where you grew up, where the family and roots. So on. The roots is really important for stability. The connection to ourselves, and also we also search for home, but also considering home as inside of ourselves, but also I think it's important to always learn to be comfortable with the unknown, to kind of surf the wave of, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm still going to go because it feels fun or it can be very scary, but still like being comfortable with insecurity. Through all those fears, we always look for security in every details. But in the end, we just need to learn to not feel so comfortable and get out of this comfort zone. I feel you experienced that, right, with your travels, no?
100%. And just to draw upon my own experience, I found particularly when those fears and insecurities arose, I would always default to escapism mechanisms, which I think in the world we live in, we're privileged, but also I think burdened a little bit with the accessibility to instant dopamine, either in the form of junk food or social media scrolling or smoking or drinking. There's so many things at the moment that are comfort zones, particularly when you are feeling those insecurities and those fears. And what I found, particularly during the university phase, where I went from high school being a very big fish in a very small pond to university being just not another number amongst 60,000 people, I felt very disconnected to who I was. And as a result, instead of looking at those insecurities and trying to work with them, like you were saying, I would tend to just find comfort in smoking or drinking or partying or social media. And whilst that was really fun, I do believe everyone should have that experience at some point in time. It's also not beneficial to personal growth and actually dealing with those fears, because for me anyway, I started to form a lot of addictions to those substances. And so as a result, whenever those bad feelings would arise, my default response would be to go towards a cigarette or a night out drinking, instead of actually taking the time to practice self-love and figure out what's causing this fear, what's causing this insecurity, and how can I work with it so that I'm no longer feeling overwhelmed or the need to escape my lived reality. And yeah, so that's been my experience with, yeah, as you said, riding that wave.
Yeah, I really appreciate your maturity, I would say. Yeah. Do you have further questions?
My question is here. So yeah, I always same question, like what could be your message maybe to the people you want to touch, like young generation or
something that has really sort of stuck with me, particularly since getting back to Australia. When I did, I actually fell straight back into the old habits I had before. And I caught myself out, and I was like, I have this far-reaching vision. Why am I falling back into these old habits and these escapism mechanisms? And what I came to is that in order to overcome, for me, the biggest difficulty has been mental tension. And I know everyone is on their own journey, and some people might struggle with financial tension or physical difficulties or differences. Mine's been more of one of the mind. And as a result, to overcome these things, I'm still very much in the process of it. It wasn't that long ago, probably 2 months, that I was in this sort of relapse phase. But my biggest realization was that to overcome any sort of issue or struggle is to have a reason that's strong enough to prevent you from doing that. What's your why? And so my message for anyone that might be listening, particularly the younger generation, is that to progress, move forward, and maybe detach yourself from things that haven't been serving you, that have been holding you back, that have been a means of escaping your lived reality. You need to have something that's more powerfully motivating for you than to do those comfort zone activities. So for me, it was focusing on my mind, body, and spirit, but also to start working towards the implementation of this vision. Yeah, to know that everything you need in life is within. You just need to explore that a little bit more and keep exploring it, because nothing's easy the first time you do it. No one knows as a baby how to walk. You've got to fall over a few times before you can take steps and eventually start running. But yeah, being kind to yourself as well was a really powerful learning.
Yeah, accepting to fail as well. We always want to succeed, but actually failing teaches much more.
Yeah.
I think it's Nelson Mandela that is saying, I never lose, either I win or I learn.
Yeah.
And I really like this as a mindset,
So maybe to go to the conclusion, can you remind us what is your why? What is your why yourself?
I've read a lot about philosophy, theology, and from that, it's to embody that connection to self and that connection to others. And there'll always be times that I fall short, or my ego takes over, or emotions cloud my judgment. But to be able to be in a state of presence where I'm able to give my attention to other people and for the purpose of serving their needs is my why.
What I like to ask as a question instead of why is for what? Because why is always a question that is going outside of yourself, and for what is much more self-reflective?
I think for what, I'm unbelievably privileged to have had the opportunities that I've had and the sort of platform that I've been given in life through an education, through the ability to travel, through friends, through family. And the what is more so to be able to use that platform for good. We live in a world at the moment where there's almost infinite leverage. The ability to learn artificial intelligence and machine learning is something that has only recently come about, but by throwing yourself into that, there's almost infinite things that you can do. The advent of social media, the ability to connect with people all over the world via a Zoom call has meant that it's now easier than ever to form new connections, to spread a good message. Yeah, build something, to leverage a platform. And so that's my what. I've been very privileged so far, and I'd love to share that privilege with other people as much as I can.
Me, so I have another question. Where could lead for you a good education when the education is like kind of beautiful, you know, where it lead for the to have a kind of also point of reference, you know?
I think like you mentioned before, Ombeline, the ability to just ride the wave when you have a truly holistic education, not just one where you're taught what to think, but how to think, how to critically analyze things, how to be a lifelong learner. You are so much more adaptable. There's no amount of automation or AI that's going to replace your job because you're always learning, you're always growing, you're a lifelong student, and you realize that there's too much knowledge in the world for you to be able to know everything in one lifetime. And so for me, a really good education is one to acknowledge that you really don't know anything and there's still so much to learn, and everyone has got something of value to share or that you can learn from. Yeah, so that would be my baseline of a good education. It can take you wherever. Your limitation is your imagination and the boundaries that you put on yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I was also wondering, you wrote that your next exciting step for this journey that you are taking is to start collaborating with experts and organizations across the world. How do you visualize this? What is your dream?
So I was very fortunate again to have the opportunity to volunteer with a company in Lobitos, Peru, which is really close to Mancora, but on the beach, which was spectacular. But they've set up a volunteer organization, which is very much aligned with sort of the co-creation that I envision this university establishing. But essentially, it's volunteers from all over the world come and stay in like a beach house, but there's accommodation and rooms. You get to connect with the local community, learn how life is lived in that part of the world, but also to have tangible work experience in renewable energy, water sanitation, ecotourism, ecological restoration. So something that I'm envisioning with this podcast and our collaboration going forward is to be able to just connect with more and more people that are doing such amazing work across a myriad of different industries. And as a result of putting myself out there and connecting with more and more people, I would then be able to have the opportunity to empower other people and people wanting to learn to come on this journey as well and collaborate and learn. And as a result, there's just a much more diverse network of people with skills and experience and exposure to different parts of the world. I think I know from my own experience, if you've grown up in a very well-established and developed country and travel hasn't been something that you've done either through your youth or your teenage years, you have a tendency to be a bit complacent and think that your lived experience is representative of the world around you. But by exposing yourselves to more communities, rural, local, regional, internationally, you are able to understand a bit more where the rest of the world is and what other cultures, traditions, or knowledge that you can learn and bring back. I'm not saying that everyone needs to embody Islam or traditions from India, but each culture has got such a rich history, and there's valuable insights from all different parts of the world.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, because it's really the point of this University of Ancestral Wisdom and Traditional Knowledge. It's to value each, in each country there is so much to value. In France we have bread. Here there are other things. In Australia you have some specificity. And so let's bring this together and share the best of each tradition, culture.
What I also like is how much learning from other culture gives you perspectives on your life. I have been in India where you have arranged marriages, and for example, I don't believe that an arranged marriage is worse than a love marriage. It might work better or longer. It's just a different perspective, and finding those different cultures gives you this ability to be non-judgmental towards an idea, but accepting that one solution might be good for a person and another might be good for another person.
Do you have questions to
yes, I do.
Good.
Maybe more specifically for Ombeline. How did your experience you mentioned higher education, PhD in chemistry, how did you end up in plant medicine?
Well, I did engineering school in chemistry and learned organic chemistry first. But then through my internships, I slowly went more and more into plants. And I think luck was also there, It's always kind of the thing. Like you said, with leadership for you, it's just pointing out the nose and you just followed, right? It was similar for me. It was my my teacher that became my director of my PhD. Just started to work more on plants, and I was a good student, so he offered. And I just really took the wave, and I was, of course, fitting with my belief systems into plants. And so little by little, I became more and more specialized in plant medicines. During my PhD, I also did an anthropological study on what kind of plants were used for pain relieving in Mali. So I was going there, doing investigation, asking traditional healers what kind of plant they use. So this also gave me an opening to all the healing with plants that is used traditionally, and a very personal interest as well.
Oh. And maybe a question for the both of you. What are your next steps for the University of Ancestral Wisdom? Where would you like to go going forward?
Next step is, for me, it's you to be happy to be part of it, and that you receive what you come to receive as well. This will be a beautiful next step. So it will be to connect with some people here in the Sacred Valley, and to make a relationship with to make a podcast on what we do now, with you, and to have conversation.
Well, maybe we also talk about the 5 weeks.
For sure. And for sure, this to manifest this program, Synergy 5D.
The 5 steps and 5 stages, Frederic, you sent that through to me, but were there any additional changes or things that you were looking at implementing differently, or?
No, the structure stays the same. So first is about foundation.
Yep.
So part of the foundation is soil regeneration. So to give to the earth, who will give to us through good food, through nutritious food, healthy food, and savourous food. So giving to the soil first. Then second part is about taking care of the body temple. So it could be through diet, purge, yoga, qigong, whatever makes the body strong and clean. Then third is about sharing your gift. What is inside that you want to share? Yeah. So you do your podcast, someone else will do, I don't know what, a painting, a book, online course, individual services that we give from inside to outside. Then when we have done this, it's about social and environmental services. So to look around what we can ameliorate, in our environment for it to be more nice for everyone, And then it's about transmission of collective. It could be a documentary we do together, during this 5 weeks, and then celebration. To finish with celebration, so this program, it's about celebrating this alchemy we can make together, this synergy, something like this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I met Frederic, all different steps, and I feel he really pinpointed the process through which a person is going when he gets on a personal development journey, and provides really with the beginning, the starts with the roots is so important for everybody to do this journey in a healthy manner. And yeah, I feel this program has a very strong potential for development.
I'm so glad that you went through the steps again, because when you explained it the first time and then sent through the email breaking down each of the segments, I thought exactly the same. This is a beautiful closed loop for a personal discovery journey, and to finish it with celebration, to acknowledge that journey is a really special structure. Perfect. Last question. Ombeline, I didn't actually catch where you're originally from.
I'm French and Swiss.
Okay.
My mother.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So last thing is just to actually say thank you, because I know English is neither of your first language, but thank you so much for taking the time and the effort to speak in English with me. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to that conversation. If you found anything interesting or you'd like to get in contact with me, you can find the links down below. I hope there was something of value that resonated with you through that conversation, or some seeds that were planted in your garden as a result. I look forward to our continued collaboration together and invite you to come on this lifelong learning journey. It's an absolute privilege once again to be in your company, and I look forward to sharing with you more next time. Thank you and have a great day.